We look at the Spanish side. If somebody had said at the start of this tournament they'd go into the final without Fernando Torres by choice, no one would have believed them. But the misfiring Liverpool striker is omitted again in favour of Pedro, and the onus to score goals will fall on the shoulders of number 7, David Villa, who needs one to top Emilio Butragueño's total of 5 at a World Cup finals. Recorded 24 years ago, there's a start for number 18, Pedro, in place of Torres. History is in the making for either Bert van Marwijk or for his opposite number this evening, Vicente Del Bosque. The World Cup finals of 2010 have come to the boil with the final itself here in Johannesburg. The 64th and final game. And straight away there's a running opportunity for Dirk Kuyt. Can't keep the ball in play. Kuyt, just scorer of 1 goal in these finals here in this stadium against Denmark. Seems an eternity ago now in that 2-0 victory. Perfect evening for football. This is only the 5th time, by the way, that the World Cup finals have been staged in winter. Well, the winter sunshine has been fabulous in South Africa, where we've all been very well treated and looked after. First free kick awarded by referee Webb is to Spain. Challenge on Busquets, who's one of the youngest players out there at just 21, and his father will be particularly proud as a former international himself, although a goalkeeper. Busquets, who only forced his way into the national lineup about a year ago and has retained that position. There's a real familiarity about this Spanish side, with so many of them, of course, playing for either Real Madrid or Barcelona. And one thing Vicente Del Bosque has stressed here is that he really hopes that this performance of the Spanish in reaching the final will unify the whole country. Iniesta now, lovely little touches here, 35 yards out. It might come across to Ramos, instead it's gone the other way. Spain still retaining possession through Busquets. Then we'll have the first 2 free kicks of this game, awarded in the first 2 minutes. So this English referee isn't going to have to award a penalty in 2 minutes, as Jack Taylor did in Germany to the Netherlands in 1974. And they led 1-0, but ultimately lost 2-1 to West Germany. Sprightly start here from Pedro, the little Canary Islander, back with Sergio Ramos. Spain have scored only 7 goals in these matches in their 6 games. Remarkably low total for a team getting to the finals. The Netherlands have scored 12. Only Germany have scored more than that. Germany, who finished 3rd last night in defeating Uruguay 3-2 in a highly entertaining game. Germany, the 8th European team in a row to claim 3rd place in the finals. That's offside. Signalled by Darren Can on this side. De Jong. And they're back to Stekelenburg, who took over from Edwin van der Sar as the number 1 Netherlands goalkeeper. There'll be so many players who are wishing they hadn't retired maybe a couple of years ago. It's not always possible to get the timing right, as Van Bronckhorst has for the Dutch in his final game as a professional footballer. How remarkable it should be in a World Cup final. Cut out by Ramos, who's probably been the best right-back, along with Philipp Lahm of Germany in these finals. They've both won great acclaim for their consistent performances. Cut out by Matthijssen, who's been excellent also at the heart of the Netherlands defence alongside John Heitinga. Well, the Dutch are conceding many a free kick in these early skirmishes, and for this challenge on Ramos, referee Webb will award Spain their 3rd free kick in the opening 4 minutes. Van Bronckhorst, well, I won't say setting a captain's lead, because it was not the sort of thing he should do. Xavi to take the free kick for Spain. Every side looks for an early breakthrough. Spain, remember, began with a goal defeat at the hands of Switzerland, of all teams. Now they look for a lead of their own, and the header is good, and the first save of the match is made, and a brilliant save it was from Stekelenburg as well, as Spain goes so close through Sergio Ramos, who can't believe he hasn't got the first goal of this World Cup final. Pinpoint header. And a superb reactionary stop from Martin Stekelenburg, who hasn't had a great deal to do in these finals. Piqué. The Netherlands under the cosh in the early moments. Busquets. Clever little turn. Pedro advances, slips it through, offside given against David Villa. This was a close call. Well, Spain may have started the tournament slowly, but they've not started this match slowly. And Stekelenburg needed to be at his sharpest there to foil fullback Ramos, who's one of the unluckiest players I know in not having scored in these finals. He's had several efforts. He averages a goal every 3 games in club football, a remarkable tally, and that doesn't include penalty kicks. Puyol, the match winner in the semi-final against Germany, the man they called the caveman, partly because of his shaggy locks. That was back to the keeper. Kept in by Van der Wiel, 22 years of age, one of the youngest in the Netherlands ranks. There he is, Gregory Van der Wiel, who plays for the famous Ajax club. Can you hear the vuvuzelas? We've been hearing them for a month now. In fact, I think many of us will have to go to hearing experts after these finals are over. But this is the flavour of Africa for you. There'll be a chase on here for Robin van Persie, the Arsenal striker, who's forced a throw-in out of Puyol. Robin always likes to cut in field from that right wing position of his. Xavi Alonso. Oh, and a mistake by Busquets enables Coit to get a shot through, but it's directly at Casillas. But Busquets was caught slumbering. Ramos has also caught unawares as he runs the ball over the line with a chance of a real tilt at the Dutch defence there. This was Xabi Alonso's ball, cross into the centre. Busquets simply took his eye off it, really, affording Coit the opportunity. And a routine stop for Casillas, who's been highly critical of the Jamalani ball, a beach ball he calls it. Coit absolutely surrounded by 6 blue shirts there, occupied by the Spanish. This time it's Iniesta who's almost caught unawares by Van Bommel. Sharp play in the centre by de Jong. And back now with the 27-year-old Stekelenburg, who was actually dropped by his club team Ajax at one stage of last season. Now finds himself playing in the World Cup final. There can be no greater accolade for a player. Busquets. Pedro. Twisting and turning. Capdevila. Slips it through here towards Villa, who's well spotted by Matthijssen. Spain win it back, they're so adept at doing that. Xavi will hoist it over towards Villa, and sharply Stekelenburg advances and grabs the ball. Good run made by Villa that time, no offside flag. The Dutch have yet to find a rhythm. Spain are not allowing them to settle, just as they didn't allow the Germans to settle in that semi-final. Down in Durban, and just to say once again how magnificently the South Africans have organised this World Cup in some brilliant stadiums. None better than the stadium down in Durban, where that semi-final was played, and also in Cape Town. Van Bommel. Met by Puyol, you can't miss him. Well, the nerves will have dissipated now. The players firmly focused on the job in hand, which is to win that glittering prize. Remember, Brazil have won it on 5 occasions, Italy 4, Germany 3, Uruguay and Argentina twice apiece, and England and France. So 7 nations have been world champions. We will have an 8th tonight, but will it be Spain or will it be the Netherlands? It is Spain in possession with Piqué. Iniesta, who patrols the right flank. 10 minutes played. No goals. Spain through Xavi. Rarely plays a bad pass. 81% of his passes have found the mark in this World Cup. Xavi Hernandez. Pedro. The one who probably didn't expect to be playing in the final when the squads were announced. But he's got in ahead of Fernando Torres. Now they'll spread the play to Sergio Ramos. He'll make inroads here. Ramos will surely go for goal. And good defending, Ben Heitinga, who manages to keep it away. But in these early moments of the match, it is Sergio Ramos who's made the biggest impact. One with the header saved by Stecklenburg, and now with a cross-come shot which is booted to safety by Heitinga. I was almost surprised Ramos didn't try to locate the net himself. Iniesta has taken it short. Xavi to knock it across. Not first time, not second time. Now it's Xabi Alonso. They're queuing up here. Side netting. Cheering at the other end of the ground. They thought Villa had his 6th of the World Cup. Not so. Belted across by Xabi Alonso and lashed into the side netting by Villa, who will take some encouragement from the fact that he found so much space. Too long for Robin. There's a great banner that says, "Who needs Batman when you've got Robin?" He's more talkative than usual, Vicente Del Bosque. Charming man, by the way. He never lets his face slip much during a game, but he says he will afford himself a smile at the end of the night. Might have a glass of sangria even if Spain win. De Jong spreads it nicely. Van Persie and now Kout. Van der Wiel, who flicks the ball up in the air to begin with, and then presents it to Capdevila, the left back of Spain. Little Xavi, what a star he is. And no one has twinkled more brightly than him in this very organised Spanish side, which, I say, began with a loss to Switzerland. And no team has ever lost the opening match and gone on to win the World Cup. Argentina in 1978 were the last to lose a group game and go on and win it. So the portent's not good for the Spanish on that front. But they are on this front because they've got a free kick. Puyol has. He's a very clever man, by the way, Puyol, and I'm not joking. He practices yoga. He's regarded as one of the most intelligent members of the squad. Sergio Ramos. Just playing possession football at the moment, so it goes back to the man they call Saint Ica. He is a saintly presence in the Spanish ranks. Goalkeeper Casillas. Heitinga. Stabbed rather awkwardly and wide into the path of Stecklenburg. Van Persie can't win it. Well, that's another challenge the referee doesn't like, And it will be the first yellow card of the match for Robin van Persie, who you can see has got a guard on his knee. Robin van Persie then, the Arsenal striker, first man cautioned in this final. He's had reconstructive surgery on his ankle as Van Persie, not his knee, which is strapped. And he's been working from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, swimming and running. But he's really caught Cap de Villa here, going for the ball, he says. Howard Webb didn't agree. All yellow cards were wiped out after the quarter-final. Very calm man, the Dutch coach, Van Marwijk, who spent a couple of years in German football with Borussia Dortmund, not too successfully. But even he's come to inquire what's going on. But Cap de Villa looks as though he'll be able to hobble on after a short spell on the sidelines, maybe. Jacob Zuma and the Dutch royal family members and the Spanish Queen, all fairly silent at the moment. Busquets with the free kick. He's dropping back just momentarily until Cap de Villa returns onto the field of play as he has done now. Tyson cracking the ball from one side of the field to the other, and it has led to Van der Wiel picking it up now, stroking it into Robin, and a free kick for the Dutch this time. And referee Webb's going to produce that yellow card and show it to Carlos Puyol as well. We've had a lot of free kicks in these early minutes, but that, believe it or not, is the first foul by a Spanish player, and it costs Puyol a card. Rather vigorous challenge on to Robin's ankle. Robin down in anguish straight away, but a free kick for the Netherlands, more importantly, from which they could prosper. Countered, Matthijssen are already on the 18-yard area, and so is Van der Wiel and Heitinga. All up here for this. They need to leave somebody back, and they just leave one player back in the centre circle. Wesley Sneijder poised. There are 4 in orange for him to pick out, but there are half a dozen in blue strung across the 18-yard line to try and prevent a goal coming in, and Sneijder tried to catch Casillas unawares. Casillas hangs on gratefully, gobbling it up from Wesley Sneijder's right boot. He has been maybe the star of the tournament, Sneijder, with his sniping. Excellent goals he's scored as well. Not on that occasion. But Villa and Sneijder have both had a shot in this game now. Two of the leading marksmen, alongside Diego Forlan, of course, who got his 5th goal last night against the Germans, and the young German Thomas Muller. He's on 5 goals. Puyol. Nobody much to hit that ball too, and he puts it straight onto Heitinga's chest. Heitinga, who's got another date, big date coming up this month. He gets married to the sister of Boudewijn Zenden, the former Dutch international player. Well, Count got a nudge in the back from Ramos, but that was not seen as a free kick. So despite his complaints, it's a throw-in for Spain. Twice the European champions, never the world champions. 1964 and, of course, 2008. The best in Europe, Spain. That didn't go out. A ricochet landed the ball at Kuyt's feet, and he drops it a long way back to the Ajax goalkeeper Stekelenburg. Now Matthijssen. Just playing keep ball. That yellow card for Puyol, by the way, the fourth only that Spain have picked up throughout this tournament. And remember, this is their 7th match. This is lobbed into space towards Van Persie. And one-on-one, he's beaten to the ball by Piqué. The Dutch have actually picked up 16 yellow cards. That's a round dozen more than Spain. Well, Van Marwijk pointing the way to his captain Van Bronckhorst. Simply where to take the throw-in. I think he could have guessed that for himself. It's all very cagey, isn't it? A typical final. There's only ever been one goalless final. That was in USA in '94 between Brazil and Italy. Robben's on a charge. And there's nothing more exciting or more scintillating in world football than an Arjen Robben charge, and he's won the corner. He is clearly the danger man to the Spanish. Siding away between Alonso there and Pedro. It looks like being the in-swinger. Matthijssen will come up for it. They have got half a dozen in here. If the Dutch score first, Spain will be in a bit of bother. It never looked dangerous. The flick of the head from Sergio Ramos carries it out for a Dutch throw in here. Captain Van Bronckhorst. Again, it's onto a Spanish head. And then Iniesta. Neat control, it'll get through here. He's offside. Van Persie. Mike Malarkey, the man on the far side. Almost halfway through the opening half in Johannesburg. Schneider makes some room. Everybody closing down. Oh, and another rather rash challenge, and the Spanish are rushing over here to complain about this, and they will be persuading referee Webb to produce that yellow card again. Quite rightly, he's saying vamos to the Spanish, go away. Yellow card shown, Van Bommel. And 3 yellow cards, and we're not halfway through the opening half yet. 2 more for the Dutch. It's a terrible challenge on Iniesta. And no intention of getting to the ball. And that shows how the tension is getting through to the players here. 2 cards to 1, the Netherlands lead. It's 0-0 on the scoreline that really matters. Here is Iniesta. Such an artful player. On the break, the Netherlands. And another foul, this time on count by Ramos. Far too many free kicks in this game for anybody's liking. And Ramos gets the 4th yellow card already. We're going to be setting a new record at this rate. Ramos and Puyol of Spain, Van Bommel and Van Persie of Holland are already cautioned with 22 minutes played. That is all. And one more indiscretion from any of that quartet could leave one of these teams down to 10. Schneider places the ball. He won't be thinking of going for the net here, I don't think. But again, the men in orange have got 5 players around the edge of the Spanish territory. There'll be a lot of dashing hither and thither. It will be long delivered into the arms of Casillas once again. And Casillas, with those fingers that are insured for £1 million, belts it straight down to the other end of the field to his pal Stekelenburg. The goalkeepers' union. Tensions running high. But not a great deal of quality yet. The first 5 or 6 minutes were okay with that David Villa shot at the one end. And Ramos having an effort saved as well. But no great threat to this man Casillas as yet. Van Bronckhorst lifts it long. Well, this might be dangerous if Well, if Robin had got clean control, it would have been, but the strong man muscled him out of it. Puyol. Well, good fraternity between Puyol and Van Bommel. Capdevila with the throw. Back by Xavi. Xavi being hounded by Van Bommel, that's his job. He's got to destroy in midfield and prevent Xavi getting that supply of ball through to the players in front. Now Piqué, he'll be into the opposition half for the first time. Little Pedro. Once again the Dutch close ranks, and Xavi Alonso almost gets caught by Schneider and is fouled by Schneider. He actually dallied on the ball, and that's what incurred the challenge that won the free kick for the Spanish. Robert trying to get the better of Capdevila, has to come in field and find De Jong. Matthijssen, who plays in Germany with the Hamburg club. Hamburg have just missed out on the Europa League, losing in the semi-final. This is Pedro. Well, I think the word scrappy springs to mind at the moment. A few individual scraps as well. A goal can change the complexion. Robin to Van Persie. Van Persie, by the way, who predicted at the start of this tournament that the Dutch would go at least to the semi-finals. Well, they've gone one step further. Robin with a couple of goals along the way against Slovakia and Uruguay. But a few hints of a goal in this final as yet. Iniesta. Pedro can't give his man the run around. In fact, he takes Van Bronckhorst out. And referee Webb, I reckon, is the busiest man out there. Van der Wiel. Matthijssen. Well, the Dutch have been training at the Clever Boys Stadium at Wits University here in Johannesburg, but there's been nothing very clever about any of their passing so far tonight. What works on the training ground doesn't always work on match night. A long way to go in this final. As Villa loses out on the jump with Matthijssen. And then Xabi Alonso does put it through to Xavi. There'll be another free kick. There could yet be another card. And Van Bommel already booked. We've had 3 cards now for the Dutch. And the count goes up and up and up as De Jong joins Van Bommel and Van Persie. 3 Netherlands players cautioned, which makes 18 in all in this World Cup as Xabi Alonso went to ground with a grimace. Oh, look how high the boot was. That was horrible from De Jong, who does have a reputation for picking up cautions. And no wonder Xabi Alonso needs, I think, a specialist out there. De Jong with a bit to say for himself. The Manchester City man, who was suspended, of course, for the semi-final, has just returned. He could find himself going off in the final at this rate. Somebody will be. You may remember Italia 90, where Argentina had 2 players dismissed in the final there, which they lost 1-0 to the Germans. Xabi Alonso, I think so, he'll be okay. It's only a kick in the chest. Only about 12 studs into the boot. Franz Beckenbauer would not have approved of that. One of the most graceful footballers of all time, De Keyser. And one of the most honourable gentlemen too. Frank de Boer sits silently. He scored twice in matches against Spain for the Netherlands, and there have only been 9 previous meetings, 4 wins apiece and 1 draw. Well, this one's heading for a draw at the moment and a penalty shootout. For anybody who doesn't know, if the scores are level after 90 minutes, we have another 30 minutes, and if they're still level, we go to penalties, which has happened before. 5 finals have gone to extra time and 2 to penalty kicks, including the last one, of course. Spain on the attack now. Need a bit of vision with the ball in here. It was a good one. Just got ahead of Xavi though, and straight through to goalkeeper Stekelenburg, who's made the best save of this match so far. Half an hour played, that's the scoreline. Sergio Ramos gets underneath the ball, conceding the throw in, and one or two rather glum expressions back there at the moment. The game definitely needs a break, and maybe this is the break, led by Villar. He's played a good ball into Iniesta. Pedro has to stab his foot out to try and correct the pace on the ball there, and in doing so lost the possession, which is back with the Dutch goalkeeper. Villar's ball was accepted by Iniesta. He just was a strange way to pass it. Ramos, who's contributed 2 of the best moments of this fairly unforgettable final so far, and gets a free kick from Kout this time. I think the referee will be fed up of blowing the whistle before too long. It's Ramos. The feast of all the best in football, it is not at the moment. Now it is Piqué. Then Puyol. Xavi Hernandez to give him his full title. Piqué, not sure where to go. He's one of the quickest players in the Spanish ranks. Xavi Alonso is the best passer into Iniesta. They work a little triangle here involving David Villa. Once again the free kick. Referee Webb chooses not to produce a card this time against Busquets' elbow into the side of Arjen Robben. Well, it's such a different game to the one we saw last evening, where Germany beat the Uruguayans 3-2 to claim 3rd place. That really was free of tension. This one's full of it, but maybe here Van Persie will come in as Casillas leaps and grabs the ball. And for all their reputations for beautiful passes of the ball, both these sides have been hitting longer balls, which have been fruitless. And there's been a little concerted play. He only just managed to hold on to that one, didn't he? The ball will be given back. If it bounces high, it could beat him. Well, that would have been one of the most curious goals of all time. And no wonder Casillas looks. Well, that's the talking point of the match so far. They were just deliberately trying to hand the ball back to the Spanish. It took a huge hop off the turf. Casillas had to touch it. If that would have gone into the net, we would have had one of the most controversial goals in World Cup history. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Otherwise, the Dutch might have been giving the ball to the Spanish to run it into their net, to cancel it out. Well, probably no blame to Van der Wiel, who hit it. It was just the fact that Jabulani ball causes more controversy with the bounce off the turf, which will have had Casillas' heart pounding. It was actually going just wide. So let's not build it up into too big a drama. But in this sort of a game, you're almost welcome for anything that's a bit different. It's been edgy. 5 yellow cards produced by referee Webb. And he wouldn't have wanted that either. We would all want a free-flowing contest. This time, Van Bommel treads on the ball to keep it away from Villa. Now he does try and get it forward as far as Robben. Busquets was in the way. The tackling's been so sharp. Not one player has been allowed to settle on the ball. Maybe Sergio Ramos in those early moments has been the closest for anybody. Capdevila, who doesn't have a real challenger for the left-back berth in the Spanish side. Such a settled team. 30 out of the last 32 they've won. Their only defeats, Spain, have come here in South Africa, the one I referred to against Switzerland, and a year ago in the Confederations Cup at the hands of the United States of America. But neither side's getting very far in this one as yet. And that's typical of this game. A couple of little short balls, nobody willing to put their foot in it, and then a free kick conceded. The Netherlands have given away 9 free kicks. Spain have given away 5. And we're only 9 minutes before the break. As Robben tries to side his way through again, he took on one too many. Left this time to Schneider. And he's got a corner for the Dutch. The youthful Busquets and Iniesta managing to fend him away. But between them, Schneider and Robben have earned their country a corner kick here. It is their third to Spain's 1. It's short, it's clever. The side foot isn't, and nor is Matthijsen's attempt to control the ball, and that really does sum up this game. It's the cleverest free kick we've seen so far, but there were 2 hapless touches there. The worst of all from poor old Joris Matthijsen. Could have done better, I would have thought. School mark, 4 out of 10. New point. And you do expect the world's finest footballers to show better skill than that. Maybe Pedro can light up the occasion here. It is Pedro! And he drags the shot wide. The man who scored in 6 different competitions for Barcelona in the last calendar year. Creating the space for the shot and pulling it well wide of the uprights. In whatever language, he wasn't pleased. The Oranje, or Orange, which is pretty obvious which team that is, trying to set up a record here tonight. Only Brazil in 1950 won every single qualifying match and finals match in a World Cup. Well, the Dutch won all 8 qualifiers and they've won all 6 here. 14 consecutive victories. They have to defend again against Pedro. Now Villa, stabbed in field. Sergio Ramos. This is a little bit better. It could hardly be any other. We've not seen the best of either side. Puyol. Spain do now have 10 players inside the Dutch half. Xavi. This is more typical of their play, and once again the free kick is against Van Bommel. There've been a few of those already. Challenge on Xavi. Spain's last 3 victories have all been by a single goal. They'd settle for one now. They overcame Portugal and Paraguay and Germany, all 1-0. They're looking for a lead here. With just about everybody forward, 6 minutes before the break in Johannesburg. in Soccer City, a World Cup final that desperately needs a goal. Van der Wiel is being told to stay away from Puyol. I don't think he will. Stekelenburg, it sort of stooped on his line at the moment. It is through from Xavi. Puyol going for it. Not away convincingly yet. It is now. Busquets will surely launch it back while there are so many blue shirts there. No, he won't. He fooled me. Xavi Alonso fires it across in here. Offside flag raised. Chance gone. Oh, Puyol went darting in. Remember the crunching header he put into the German net the other night. Well, there was to be no repeats as Piqué and Kuyt were having a wrestling match as well. Just kept in play by Van der Wiel. 5 minutes before half-time. The last really goal-laden final was back in 1986. When Argentina overcame the Germans 3-2. The only thing we're laden with here are free kicks and whistles. Xavi, nobody wants to make a mistake. That's paramount, it would appear, in the minds of the players. Piqué can't get it through beyond Matthijssen, who's given another impeccable display as a defender. Showed a moment or two ago he doesn't have a great touch as an attacker, though, when it comes to it. Now Puyol. And Piqué, who had a spell in England at Manchester United, a real education for him before returning to Spain with Barcelona. And he's, of course, won the Champions League with them, as of so many of this side. Space here found by Pedro. He's become more prominent latterly. Capdevila. Xabi Alonso. He's not found his range either. Oh, he's got in there and really caught this time. Busquets caught by Sneijder. And we'll see on the replay whether it was high or not. But Wesley Sneijder, I see Piqué demonstrating to referee Webb just how high the boot was. It's ultra competitive. But ooh, Sneijder caught Busquets and came off the worst, it would seem. And when he picks himself up, he'll look to the referee. And Sneijder does speak English. A bit broad Yorkshire is Howard Webb's accent, but he'll understand it nonetheless. Cut that out, or you'll be the next in my bad books. 2.5 minutes to the break. Not a great deal to discuss there. The coaches planning their half-time team talks, one imagines. The only way they'll get worried is if they think there's a player in danger of being dismissed here. It is a free kick for the Spanish. Sergio Ramos, sometimes on the end of these. Xabi Alonso, it flies wide. Well, he's renowned for long-range shooting and goals. Not with efforts like that, I'm afraid. The only person worried there was the photographer who was in his sights. Another foul. The game is littered. Latest indiscretion is from Pedro. On Van Bommel. Took a crash landing. Well, all that was a good touch finder. Throw in Spain. Right up by their own corner flag. So the Dutch can press forward here in the last 90 seconds of the half, but there will be a couple of minutes of added time. Villa, little back flick to Pedro, then he turns and checks. There is a gap out on the right. He didn't get it through. Well intercepted by Van Bronckhorst, and the sprightly 35-year-old sets off on a charge forward. Finds Van Persie, edge of the area. The Dutch looking for an advantage to take into their dressing rooms. Still Van Persie, surely round of options by Iniesta. Goal kick. It's been frustrating work being a forward in this match. Van Persie at the one and Villa at the other, but then the Spanish almost getting themselves into bother with that short goal kick. The interplay didn't work. Van der Wiel. Then Stekelenburg, who did make a mistake on the Diego Forlan goal for Uruguay, but has been impeccable so far tonight. Stekelenburg making one excellent save early on as Robben gets the latest free kick. Two minutes of added time indicated by fourth official Yuichi Nishimura from Japan. And a loud blast on a vuvuzela or two. There'll be thousands, if not millions, of vuvuzelas going out of South Africa at the end of this World Cup. Free kick for the Netherlands, and it's across there by Heitinga. Puyol responds splendidly for the Spanish. He had to do. It was one of the better moments of the half, which is not yet finished. It's Robben now, fencing for position, and Casillas makes his first save of the match in added time in the first half. Typical Robben. Remember, he scored a goal in very similar fashion, hooking the shot in, left-footed, down towards the upright, and Casillas sharply across in response. Robben net it against Slovakia just like that. He didn't net tonight. Xavi Alonso's ball isn't good. Van Persie offside flag. Well, it would have given us a little bit more to talk about in this opening 45 minutes, and Robben scored there. He didn't, because Iker Casillas is still one of the best in the world. And he and Martin Stekelenburg at the other end are probably the only two players to take any plaudits from this half. Well, from the defensive units, Pedro's boot was high. It's the second free kick he's given away in a couple of minutes. This for the foul on De Jong. And we have had 47 minutes, and referee Webb, I think, will say enough is enough any second now. Let's go and have a breather and start again. And there it is, the arm of the official is raised. It is 0-0 in this 19th World Cup final in Johannesburg. It's rarely looked like being anything else. Plenty of purpose, plenty of fouls. Van Bommel, one of those booked. There have been 5 in all. De Jong and Van Persie, Sergio Ramos and Puyol all have found their way into referee Webb's book. But there's not been a lot to report apart from a couple of excellent saves from the two goalkeepers, Stekelenburg and Casillas. One hopes that this final in 2010 can only get better. At the break, Netherlands 0, Spain 0. So here we go again, Netherlands and Spain, 45 minutes at least to go. Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Headed away by Piqué, onto the chest of Coates, who's managed to figure in a move which involves Sneijder. Then it's across to Van Bommel, from his chest, Cout again. It'll come right here to Van der Wiel, who gives it away, forfeited to Puyol. Then Iniesta. Iniesta and Xavi have this telepathic understanding. They just seem to be everywhere together. Xavi Alonso. He's not had his best night in terms of passing. That's a good turn, a clever one from Robben. Feeds it through. The intent was to get it onto the boot of Van Persie. Couldn't find it. Van Persie's had a slightly disappointing World Cup, in company with a lot of the supposed superstars. The Kakas and the Rooney's, the Ronaldos, and of course the Fernando Torreses. That's a nicely weighted ball from Iniesta. On it again here now. Oh, clever from Iniesta. He'll try and pick out Xavi in the middle. And between them, Matthijssen and Heitinga snipped it in the bud. Puyol. They'll come fencing at one another again, looking for that early breakthrough that can make such a difference to a match. Good turn from David Villa, surrounded by a posse of orange shirts straight away. That's Iniesta, tries to roll it through for Xavi. Well, they've got the bit between their teeth here of Spain, no doubt about that, and Busquets has knocked it wide right, and there will be a corner here for the Spanish, and it is only their second of the game. So they've already matched their first half tally in the first 2 minutes of the second half. Clever turn by David Villa. That's what Barcelona have just paid all that money for. Around about £40 million to Valencia. Xavi with the take. Puyol inevitably up for it. Somewhere alongside him is Capdevila. Also Piqué. Villa inside the 6-yard area, and Pedro just outside it, along with Xavi Alonso. Sometimes gets long-range shots in if these efforts are cleared. Van Persie and Puyol pushing and shoving. And in it goes for Puyol's header, and it just dropped behind Capdevila rushing in. Well, there was the usual pushing there, like two people trying to get on the last tube train at night, and Puyol did get head to ball, that thick thatch of his, but it dropped behind Capdevila. The flowing locks of Carles Puyol, instrumental in bringing Spain into the final. Not yet in winning it for them. Seems to be a new urgency about the Spanish, with Xavi Alonso on the ball, then with Iniesta, rolls inside the challenge of Van der Wiel. Xavi Alonso goes for the return ball, he may get to it as well, pushed, and no more than a strong shoulder charge there, and look, no referee would have given this one on a Sunday Park, let alone a World Cup final. I don't think anyway. Van Bommel there into Xavi Alonso, who did not complain. It's a man's game. And Van Bommel, who's had an outstanding World Cup, brings the Netherlands clear. Across to Van der Wiel. What a match for him. He was thrown out by Ajax as a teenager for insubordination. They've taken him on again. He's got a ball in here. Casillas didn't appear too sure about that one as it fizzed through the 6-yard area. And it was, shall I or shan't I bother touching this one? Well, don't bother, but it might have just brushed off the thumb. Coaches always know best. Van Bronckhorst losing out to Ramos. Pedro sandwiched, free kick Spain. Capdevila, who's got a few goals for his country down the years. Up steps Piqué. Villa shouldered out of it again. It's going to take something either remarkable or silly to win this game. Sometimes you get somebody making a horrendous mistake. Sometimes you get a flash of brilliance from somebody. Five minutes gone in the second half, 0-0 the scoreline. Spain endeavouring to become only the second team ever to be coincidental holders of the World Cup and the European Championship. West Germany in 1974, the only other country that's achieved that notable double. That's a very strange piece of defending, I have to say, to afford the Dutch a throw in here. But nobody getting forward too smartly. And when they do, Robben throws it straight to the opponent, though he has it back from Van Persie. Chance to set something up through those midfielders, led by De Jong. Chipped into Dirk Kuyt. Can't get through. Shout for a handball. No, says referee Webb. Robben gets the shot away. Casillas this time able to make the stop. They all seem to be snaking just inside the near post, these shots of Robben's. Casillas is only too aware of that. Piqué, who started in the World Under-20 Championships in Canada just 3 years ago. All these players have come through the familiar routes. Many of them have played in the World Under-17 and Under-20 Championships before coming onto the biggest stage of all. And for someone, tonight is going to be the night of their lives, in a footballing sense anyway. It's Villa now. Trying to go beyond Matthijssen and just manages to roll it back without knocking it out of play, and Stekelenburg completes the job. Schneider, good ball. Robben one-on-one with Puyol. Which way to go? Van Bommel. De Jong shows too much of the ball to the opponent. Could lose it here. He's lost it to Iniesta, but nobody else in blue forward. And De Jong gets a second stab at launching an attack. He does so with Schneider, who promptly passes it straight to Sergio Ramos. This is Xavi. Xavi Alonso. Big money signing by Real Madrid last year from Liverpool. Over £30 million they paid for Xavi Alonso, Real Madrid. And they've got a move going here, certainly. Oh, but Pedro tries to play the ball back, and Sergio Ramos was taken out quite clearly. Referee Webb instantly blew the whistle. Van Bronckhorst had made no attempt to play the ball. Too many players are wafting imaginary yellow cards in faces here. And Van Bronckhorst, the captain of the Netherlands on his last ever game as a professional, will get a yellow card, and even he's telling Van Bommel to be quiet, and he'll take his medicine from Dr. Webb. First man, by the way, to referee Champions League final and World Cup final in the same season, Howard Webb. Van Bronckhorst booking number 6. 4 of those to the Netherlands, who've had 19 in their 7 matches here in South Africa. More important, Stekelenburg hunched. Xavi could hit it. Xavi Alonso could hit it if it comes in his direction. He's stationed about 7 or 8 yards outside the penalty area. Could be pulled across to him. 27 metres to go. And it is Xavi, and it's over the top. It was a big dipper, which didn't dip enough. Wide of the mark as well. You'd probably say it's this wretched ball. Some would say it was his technique that let him down. It's not often the case in his where he's concerned. Van der Wiel. Van Bommel, the one who comes in and helps Van der Wiel out. Robben's trickery has got him certainly beyond Capdevila. This is Arjen Robben, and he'll square it on. A brilliant piece of defending from Sergio Ramos, who came over to intercept and to release David Villa as well. That was superb from Ramos. This is Xavi. Villa's injured, so play I think is going to be stopped. Villa really wrapped on the ankle, and Heitinga is the latest to say to referee Webb, what are you going to do about this? Well, it's the Spaniard who is hurt, not the Dutchman, so I'm not quite sure why Heitinga's protesting, and he's going to be taken away by referee Webb for another lecture. The Everton defender, yeah, it's another one. Well, it's a good job there isn't another match to come after this one. They would be running out of players. Heitinga, the 5th Dutchman to be cautioned this evening. Well, they really have put themselves about. And they're up to 20 cards for the tournament. The Netherlands. 5 in this game, 2 for Spain. And referee Webb is going to make history if he keeps on at this rate. 4 years ago in Berlin, of course, we had the unedifying sight of Zinedine Zidane, one of the greatest players ever in the history of the game, being sent off for a headbutt on Marco Materazzi of Italy. 1990, I referred to those 2 Argentines being sent off as well against Germany, and there's a bad feeling here between the players of the Netherlands and Spain, and this one is bubbling over. Del Bosque, well, there was a thumbs up, I'm not quite sure who it was for. Latest foul is by Iniesta. Robben stays down. Schneider hurt. I think that was just clumsy, to be honest, rather than malicious. But 84,490 were hoping for a better spectacle than this World Cup final, which desperately needs a goal. Robben will fire in the free kick. The danger here is that he mustn't get it too close to Casillas, and he must try and find one of those half a dozen players clad in orange. It's a good one, but the flag was raised even before contact was made at the back stick by Heitinga. They all came racing in, but Heitinga was ahead of Sergio Ramos, and the header was going wide in any event. Still 0-0. Xavi. Spain have got to really rely on the game that's brought them to this file and not get induced into different tactics. They've got to pass the ball and continue passing it around. They're getting free kicks galore. This one for David Villa out of Matthijssen. The Netherlands have committed 15 fouls. They haven't conceded though. Joan Capdevila around on the outside. The cross is good, taken care of by Matthijssen, not by Van der Wiel. Second time he does get it and then clips it straight against the ankles of the referee. And well, this one is Robben going down under the challenger Xabi Alonso. So you see that Capdevila cross there, which was well met by Matthijssen. Joris Matthijssen has been one of the best centre-halves in this tournament. There we saw the Robben tackle. We've got the first substitution of the match, and it is by Spain, and it is Pedro who is going off. But maybe surprise, surprise, it is not Fernando Torres who is coming on. This is the 24-year-old Jesus Navas, who plays in Sevilla, who suffers acute homesickness, by the way, which balked his early attempts to play for his country. He's a very nervous boy, but anyway, he's on in a World Cup final, nervous or not. Defending against the Netherlands, a chance here for Van Persie, who puts the header over the top. Interesting that Navas is the player introduced, as we see Van Persie climbing above Puyol, but planting the header high. We have another stoppage, meanwhile, which gives you another chance to see how Van Persie did get above the Spanish defender. And this is the reason we have a stoppage. Piqué with a bang to the head. I can't see blood at the moment, which always necessitates a player leaving the field, of course. But the medics have decided that Gerard Piqué does need to go off for the moment, and then in a second referee Webb will say you can come back on. He has to wait. He's stood there with his arms out wide. Here again, the reason he got it was a challenge with Dirk Kuyt. And he is now back on the field of play, Piqué. as Matthijssen wins yet another header. He's won his battle with David Villa tonight, that's for certain. This one's through the middle. It is Arjen Robben. Is this the moment for the Netherlands? Casillas saves Spain. Robben holds his head in his hands and can't believe he's not now accepting the glory. How many times has Iker Casillas, the Saint, saved the Spanish? Sneijder's ball was inch perfect to Robben, who cut between the two defenders, but he couldn't get it beyond Casillas and into the net. The trailing leg of the Spanish captain just prods the ball to safety outside the uprights. It's still 0-0, and Robben is a sinner instead of a saint. And beaten by the man they call the Saint, who'll try and defend again here now. A Heitinga, and this one too high. And again it was from Robben. So the game still hasn't got that goal it needs. But what a ball it was from Wesley Sneijder. And it presented itself there. It must have opened up for Arjen Robben. They're all closed down before Capdevila could get to him. Casillas had done his job, proving yet again he's probably the best goalkeeper in the world. And he could yet be following in the footsteps of another great goalkeeper, Dino Zoff, in lifting the World Cup as captain of his country. Remember Zoff, the captain of Italy in 1970. Slightly more incident in the second half. 2 more bookings. Still no goals, with 27 minutes to go. Now Casillas launches the ball over halfway. Again, we see it bounce quite high off this turf in Soccer City. Matthijssen into De Jong. Everybody seems terrified to make a mistake. That's the problem. Including Stekelenburg here, where he pushes it along the line to Matthijssen. And there is a mistake in gifting the ball to Spain, who can't profit. Not for the moment. Count there, who comes from a fishing family. This one is lifted over the top by Jesus Navas. His first contribution is an effective one in steering it away from Van Bronckhorst. Still there, back to Sergio Ramos. A brilliant turn from the fullback, who's been the best player out there for me. The most effective in his work. But look at the closing down again there, meaning Xabi Alonso has to reverse it all the way to Piqué. But the Spanish are getting stronger in voice as Capdevila tries to batter his way beyond Robben, who helps his team in closing down and in catching the ankle of Xavi. Sort of thing that happens quite a few times in football matches, so therefore no caution. Spain with the possession again, and they've had 58% of the ball to the Dutch 42%. 25 minutes are remaining in this game. That's another good attempt by Jesus Navas to break the deadlock. Clearance takes it to Xabi Alonso. It's in here now for Xavi, and it'll break maybe. It didn't break to Iniesta, and Stekelenburg is able to keep the ball from crossing the line. Just looks for a moment as though it might have got through as far as Andres Iniesta. It did not, so Robben keeps Capdevila at bay. Just look how tight it is. Nobody's given a second on the ball. Fairly won back by Van der Wiel. And away goes Van Persie. Oh, down he goes. Now then, is this a big moment in the match? It is. Puyol Is it? No, it's not. It's Capdevila. It was Joan Capdevila who gets the card. Puyol was coming across as well, but it is Capdevila who clips the back of Van Persie. And we now have 3 Spanish cautions to go with the Netherlands 5. Robben to fire it in. Easily met. As will Van Bommel's header be easily met too, and a free kick for Spain now. Bodies lunging at one another. The prize is so great. And ironically, it's Capdevila who's taken out by Count. Just in case you're losing count, Heitinga, Van Bronckhorst, De Jong, Van Bommel and Van Persie of the Netherlands. Capdevila, Sergio Ramos and Puyol of Spain have been booked. So every time I see the referee reaching for the card, you think there might be a second yellow and a red one about to be shown. Xavi, brilliant little spiral. And then after his pirouette, he loses it. Free kick again for against Iniesta. And for Van Bommel. It's like a 50-50 ball, that one. This is a very testing match for the English referee. Count. It still has to be settled one way or the other, hopefully before midnight. Especially for those who've got early morning flights. Piqué romping forward, and Villa offside. David Villa thwarted. Ooh, hair's breadth. Here goes Van Persie again. He has to do the chasing. It's, well, not an unavailing chase because he just got toe to ball. But only succeeds in landing it for Piqué to launch another Spanish move. And then Villa tussles with Matthijssen, who wins yet again. It's been the most difficult match of David Villa's World Cup for sure, against Matthijssen. But they're still probing here. This is typical Spain. Jesus Navas now, edge of the 18-yard area. Navas across. Oh, and there might be a chance for Villa here. How did that not go in? On any other night in this World Cup in South Africa, David Villa would now be wheeling away in celebration. Jesus Navas has made an impact since being brought on by Del Bosque. He does well here. There was an element of fortune. It came off Heitinga's shin, and David Villa going in for the shot. He's equally thwarted. Corner Spain nonetheless. The big boys are up for it. It's away as far as Xabi Alonso. Onside again, shot saved by Stekelenburg. Well, that's the game coming to a bit more life. And the Dutch are going to make a switch as well. They will bring off Dirk Kuyt, and they will replace him with El Hierro Elia, a 23-year-old front-running player who has a couple of international goals to his credit, who's played just 85 minutes in this World Cup in 5 different matches. In fact, he came on here in this stadium against Denmark, a match the Dutch won 2-0, and he actually set up a goal for Dirk Kuyt. Elia's on. Is he the man to win the glory? Plays for Hamburg in Germany. They paid £8.5 million to Feyenoord for El Hierro Elia. 20 minutes remain in the FIFA World Cup final of 2010, which grows ever more ready for a goal. Xavi Alonso, Sergio Ramos. It's broken down. Van Persie's come more into play in recent minutes, but he can't thread this one in to the path of Elia. And Navas, who's really lifted this match, finds Xavi. turns on a sixpence, finds Xavi Alonso into Iniesta, who'll try and break between three orange shirts before rolling it back to the inevitable Xavi. Queuing up here, it is Xavi, and once again three orange-clad shirts surround him. Xavi encircled there once again by the Dutch. The game is in the balance. Many of the Dutch fans, I'm told, have been painting their houses orange back in Amsterdam and Rotterdam and Hilversum and Eindhoven. They won't be so pleased, and it'll be Spain painting the town red if they score the first goal here. They have a throw-in. The arm was across there from Heitinga, but it was not a defence. The European champions and the pretenders to the world crown with a throw-in, but they lose their way. So many great Dutch players have had an influence on the Spanish game. People like Johan Cruyff and Guus Hiddink, of course, Louis van Gaal, Frank Rijkaard have all gone over to Spain and coached the top teams there and had considerable influence. Now it's Iniesta. Well intercepted, but a free kick now then. This may well be of interest. Heitinga looks desolate. Van Marwijk is shaking the fingers. Iniesta, a little poke through. Heitinga blocked him off. Free kick Spain. 17 minutes remain on the clock. Spain in their 13th World Cup finals, hoping it's going to be 13th time lucky for them, and this their free kick chance with a five-man tangerine wall in the way, reduced to four because Sneijder's moved away. It's going to be back to five in a moment, with Iniesta tucked in amongst. It's going to be left to Xavi or Villa. It is David Villa, and it's as disappointing as the rest of the free kicks we've seen tonight. Everything that preceded it was similar. The issue remains to be settled, either via the normal route or via penalty kicks. That was a strong back pass by Elliott, but he got away with it. We're stuck on that 144 goals scored in these finals. Number 145 may well be the crucial one. We're not stuck on the number of free kicks. That's number 31. Oh, and Ramos gives a gesture. I think to Sneijder. Totting up, says Ramos. And Wesley Sneijder is summoned again. He hasn't yet been cautioned. The referees are very aware of who they have booked and who they haven't. That was sharply taken. It is Iniesta. He's smothered. Navas to Xavi Alonso. To Navas, onside. The ball in is good for Villa. The shot isn't so good. It flies into the orange shirts, masked behind the net. Navas again, the creator though. If you're wondering what that announcement it is, it's just that the attendance is 84,490. The figures that matter: Netherlands 0, Spain 0. Xavi Alonso, no break for him. Van Persie, Xavi Alonso again, and Xavi. They've played together so many times. Villa and Xavi and Villa, bewildering passing. And Xavi and Villa, terrific stuff, but the defender who comes over and does such a good job as Cannavaro settles back into his seat there was Van der Wiel, and it was a brilliant piece of defending just to get across and make sure Villa's shot didn't trouble Stekelenburg anyway. He's smiling, you know. That's almost a wide grin from Vicente Del Bosque. He'll only smile when Spain score, like now. Should have been. Should have been for Sergio Ramos. It was almost identical to the situation from which Carlos Puyol won them the semi-final against Germany. Oh, look at the eyes on him. Everybody sees Sergio Ramos coming in, and everybody sees it flying over the bar instead of under it. Spain should have been in the box seat. So long as it stays like this, the Netherlands will be delighted. Oh yeah, he's still holding his head in his hands and wondering how on earth. Perhaps he needs a new lucky headband. Iniesta, back for Capdevila. Iniesta rides one challenge, but not two, from which Van Bommel emerges until Xavi has it again. Two players go down. Iniesta. Well, he lost his cool there, Iniesta. Capdevilla's coming to plead on his behalf, like the leading attorney. Well, it was off the ball. He's just getting really frustrated. And so is the referee. Oh, Van der Wiel had caught him, and so had Van Bommel, and he comes and takes it out on Van Bommel. And in a way, Iniesta is very, very fortunate not to have had a yellow card. The referee wants the ball back. Can I have my ball, please? And Heitinga eventually has it. There's a stern look on the face of the man from Yorkshire. Breedham tough there, you know. And Del Bosque is asked to resume his seat in Japanese by Mr. Nishimura. Xavi, hoping a football match might break out in a moment. Jesus Navas, corner Spain. But they're now a level on that count at 5 apiece. And Jesus Navas has been one of the coolest players around since he's come on. He's the one who's been trying to play and create. They went close from their last corner in Spain. Sergio Ramos will be in the mix again, hoping to do better. It is up there towards him. It's away by De Jong. Not very far away, and they come again in numbers. The chance to play a telling ball in here. It was not a telling ball, it was a wayward one. Xavi's ball there, not putting the Dutch under pressure. Crowd are getting ever noisier in Soccer City, well named. Johannesburg, home to famous clubs, of course, the Orlando Pirates, the Kaizer Chiefs. The great Lucas Radebe here tonight, formerly of the Kaizer Chiefs and Leeds United in South Africa. He actually was captain at their 2 previous World Cup campaigns. Some other great players are here. George Weah, remember him? Former World Footballer of the Year, JJ Okocha. Iniesta. Taken away by Heitinga. Still just the one substitution made by the Spanish. Pedro off and Jesus Navas on. The one for the Dutch, Elia for Kite. Maybe they're holding them back in reserve for those extra 30 minutes that are looming. Xabi Alonso tricks his way beyond, and Iniesta into the area. It is Iniesta, and he's blocked off, very legally blocked off by Sneijder as well. And some sport, because Sneijder picks up Iniesta in a very sportsmanlike fashion, which is good to see. Clever player Iniesta, he ducks under the man there. Heitinga, almost like a party game on the dance floor, or maybe Iniesta, and he is so nimble. Spanish ascendancy in terms of possession, not in terms of goals scored. They will try again through the same source. Iniesta, who is beaten down by Robben. Free kick number 33 coming up. 20 of them to Spain. Xavi wants to take it sharply, but he put it only onto the head of Van Bommel, who's done another great job and pushes the ball back to Stekelenburg. Van Bommel. Okay, senor. A goal is needed. Well, two coaches are relatively calm. They must already be planning, though, for those extra 30 minutes. And they will have been practicing their penalties too. Iniesta with a lot of the ball and winning quite a few free kicks, but there are a lot of very frustrated footballers in Soccer City tonight. Xavi. Piqué. Busquets. Sergio Ramos. And Navas, back to Ramos. Tries to fend away Elia. Did that successfully, and Van Persie with the opportunity to play Robben in. Oh, and Robben, was he pulled back? And for the second time on the night, Arjen Robben is infuriated, frustrated by his own inability to beat Iker Casillas. And I think he thought that Puyol had a little tug at him. Already retains it, or gets his composure back. Van der Wiel. It's Robben's pace that's the only thing that's going to unhinge the Spanish tonight. Foul by Busquets on Van der Wiel. How many more times are we going to see referee Webb with this gesture? Here it is. Now they did, well, the arm came across from Puyol without doubt, and Casillas was again so quickly off the line. Now Robben's being booked because he's protested over long to referee Webb. He had a case, I have to say, and Puyol was in danger of being sent off for sure. He's chasing his man for all he's worth there, Robben, but it was Puyol who did the important chasing and did enough in company with his captain and keeper. Free kick from Van Persie. Good looking one, but met. Chipped in there again here. And expertly defended. 6 bookings for Dutch players this evening. They could be in for a world record of the whole team at this rate. Stekelenburg, who for all the Spanish pressure hasn't had that many saves to make. Ramos, covering defender. 6 minutes left in which somebody can make a real hero for themselves in footballing history. A goal now would be pretty well timed, to use footballing parlance. Van Persie. Well, his initial work was good. It will only be good if it's kept in by Elia, and it wasn't. Five minutes to go, and a word for Cesc Fabregas from Vicente Del Bosque, is the man who would appear to be Barcelona bound from Arsenal. His current manager Arsene Wenger is sitting not very far away from me. Has the chance to change the course of this game in 5 minutes. Go out there and set up a goal, it's vaguely translated as. Or score it. Well, he is an impact player. Xavi. And Piqué, so majestic on the ball. Jesus Navas. For once his first touch does betray him. Van Persie tries to force a way through. I'm sure referee Webb's conscious of not wanting to send anybody off. It's somebody who's coming on now who might change it, with Xavi Alonso being replaced by Fabregas. A very cultured player, still a very young player as well, Fabregas, at the age of 23. Fabregas of Arsenal, but for how much longer? He shaved off the beard as well, which he was sporting earlier in the tournament. Well, Snyder thinks that Navas was too close for him at that free kick, but I'm not sure he would have got anywhere anyway. 3.5 minutes left before the necessity for extra time. But maybe, just maybe, the Netherlands can snatch it. There's a one-on-one here for Villa, covered by Matthijssen. Wriggles away from him and has a free kick, which is sharply taken, and Fabregas has his first touch of the ball. Sometimes takes a minute or two to settle into the pace of a match and the tempo. So Fabregas delays things. And it will be so much on the minds of these players now that they are within touching distance of an extra 30 minutes in which to settle a contest which has been feisty. 56% possession for Spain, no good unless you get a goal. And it's been typical of their tournament, really. They've won so many matches by just the odd goal. They lost to Switzerland, they beat Honduras 2-0, but then it was Chile 2-1, Portugal 1-0, Paraguay 1-0 and Germany 1-0. And a few olays now as they just retain possession of the ball. Fabregas and Xavi and Busquets. Xavi to get away from Robben, that he does successfully. Iniesta, and Iniesta again, one of the most effective players. It breaks handily for Capdevila. The cross is useful as well, but it didn't break kindly for Spain. Will it break kindly for the Netherlands? The race is on again here, led by the fleet of foot Robben. I don't think even he can get there. He didn't. Oh, he knows. He knows in his own mind. He'll argue the toss. Less than 90 seconds remain of the 90 minutes. Oh, it's gone to Snyder. It's gone to Van Persie, and don't get too excited. It's not going to count even if it does go in. Yeah, I didn't think it would, not even now. And this World Cup is drifting towards 30 more minutes. For two countries have been trying to win the World Cup since they first entered it in 1934. And here they are, 76 years on, still slugging it out for the greatest prize in the game. But they're finding it hard work to prize open the redoubtable opposition. Xavi to Jesus Navas. Villa's in the centre. Joint leading scorer, remember, in this World Cup. Headed away by Matthijssen. 10 seconds. Capdevila. Xavi almost dispossessed, doesn't matter, breaks to Fabregas. 3 added minutes. The Dutch slam the door firmly in the faces of the Spanish again. And then Van der Wiel, who reminds me so much of Michael Reisinger, the former Dutch right fullback. Back to Stecklenburg, who hoofs it straight out of play. And every one of the 84,490 knows there are 3 minutes of added time being played. Van Marwijk doesn't want to lose it now. Neither does Del Bosque, naturally. Whichever wins will be the 20th homegrown coach to lead their side to a World Cup final victory. We have a Spanish coach, we have a Dutch coach, we have Spanish possession, we have interplay around the area, and we have a Dutch break led by Elia. Again, they'll try and find Robben, but too much pace on the pass. No greyhound on earth would have got to that, let alone a human being. The Spanish coach stalks the touchline. There he is, clad in his favourite jacket. still encouraging his team to greater efforts, knowing they might do without another 30 minutes if only they could find one moment of magic from somebody. Piqué counters a bobble of the ball, a rare one on this turf. Switches it to Fabregas outside the centre circle. Thought of a shot, found Xavi instead. Busquets. Xavi again, the orchestrator. Even Placido Domingo is here tonight to urge the Spanish team on. So is Rafael Nadal, but just like us, they haven't seen a goal. And we have a minute of extra time, of added time to play before extra time. And we have another free kick, which was taken sharply to Iniesta, who has one man Van der Wiel in front of him, so he drifts inland. Fabregas into the zone outside the 18-yard area from which the Dutch break. Has anybody got enough Dutch courage to get up there and win it? Oh dear. There was no courage in that effort, I'm afraid, from Sneijder. Maybe you feel you have to have a go, that we are inevitably and inexorably moving towards another 30 minutes in the World Cup final of 2010. It is going the same way as the one at USA in '94. Italy-Brazil 0-0, and here tonight Netherlands-Spain is 0-0, and we have 30 more minutes to play. So 30 minutes to go. Netherlands 0, Spain 0. Who is going to be the hero? It is the 6th final to go to extra time. The reminder that 1994 and 2006 went to penalties. Italy, you remember, in Berlin 4 years ago, beating France that way. And Brazil beating Italy in 1994 on penalties. Here goes Xavi. First movement of the half. It's knocked back towards Iniesta and now drops to Fabregas. A little dink from him. And then it's taken away. A hard-working De Jong. Still no sign of Fernando Torres for Spain. Plenty of signs of Arjen Robben, and look at that, 3. A long blue arm of defenders to keep him at bay. Xavi. Such an articulate player. Jesus Navas. Things got interesting when he came on, and he tries to go around the outside of Van Bronckhorst, then checks back on the inside, and eventually the throw-in is going to go the Netherlands' way. Well, nobody really wanted it to turn out this way. We'd all have enjoyed a feast of goals. We haven't been rich in that respect so far this evening. It is Spain who are trying again to find an alternative route with Fabregas, with Iniesta, and in here there are so many. It's Villa, and it's screwed wide with everybody off the bench. All the Spanish substitutes who are running onto the field of play there, they thought this was the moment. Fabregas holding away De Jong, then Iniesta, Xavi. What a scramble. It's like the old school yard, but the eventual shot that came in from Villa flicked away and out for a corner kick. He wanted more than that. A forlorn look on the face of the Spanish coach. They got no more than a corner. Well, they might have thought it should have been a penalty kick, but it's a corner and Xavi will take it. And they're queuing up in there, including the Ramos, who's so effective, and Puyol. It's through to Stekelenburg. The game continues to follow a familiar pattern, with the Dutch trying to lead breakouts like this through Robben. utilises speed. Well, here it is again, edge of the area. To be fair, Fabry went down Iniesta there, but I don't think there was a foul on him. Might have looked like it from the sidelines. The tackles continue to be spicy. Casillas, who's left-footed, takes it on that foot and rolls it to Piqué. Piqué and Puyol, the two centre-backs who play together for club and country, have lost only 3 out of 78 matches they've played together, and they don't intend that sequence to be added to. Xavi. Capdevila. Xavi continues to be the fulcrum of all the Spanish movements. Van Bommel's header drops straight down to Jesus Navas. Now it will be Iniesta. They just didn't get the timing of one another's positioning right there. Some players going forward, some back. They all rang in the wrong direction. Van der Wiel. Robben looking to get the better again of Capdevila. Hits it long towards Van Persie, far too long. Van Bommel weaves his way between Spanish bodies. But when they win it, there's the opportunity to break and to slip Fabregas in. It is Cesc Fabregas, and just as Robben was foiled at this end of the field earlier by Casillas, so Fabregas is foiled by Stekelenburg. Is it one of those nights? Robben. Schneider for Robben again. It's opening up a little bit, hopefully. Corner Netherlands. Puff on the cheeks of Piqué. Well, this was a lovely ball. Iniesta slicing the defence open, and Fabregas, who so often does score in those circumstances, rolls it against the left leg of Martin Stekelenburg. And the keepers are the heroes on this night so far. Corner Netherlands. Over the top it goes. Best chance they've created from a set piece, that's for sure. It could have been Matthijsen's night. He could have added to his 3 international goals. But on this 62nd appearance, he can't put it in the net. Sergio Ramos drags himself out of one challenge from De Jong. The play goes on, and it is De Jong who's in the possession. He has Elia on the outside. De Jong, it squirts away and bounces up gratefully into Casillas' hands. Well, they've certainly not settled for penalties yet. Once again, it's Van Bommel. The referee's actually smiling a bit more now. Piqué. We're still hopeful of a goal settling it in the 120 minutes without the need for penalties. It's always rather unsatisfactory when it's settled in that way. Navas to Xavi, to Iniesta. On the flank, Capdevila. It's across towards Villa and put out for a Spanish corner. Definitely a little bit livelier, the match. Seven minutes into extra time. Another 23 to play. Spain's corner. Puyol for it and out. Goal kick. He's a big flamenco fan, is Carles Puyol, but there's been no dancing done in those Spanish nightclubs as yet. The Netherlands really taking the European champions all the way here. Just 2 years since one goal by Fernando Torres won it for Spain. That European Championship final in Vienna as Rafael van der Vaart is preparing to go on to see if he can be the one who can prise open the defence with one telling blow. He's not on yet. Ramos. And then from Busquets, who is playing centre-half at the moment, to Puyol. Fabregas, it's into Iniesta. Andres Iniesta. Has he taken too long? He has, and in common with everybody else, they seem to be having stage fright in there. Iniesta here, one touch, and he needed another one. And he was not allowed to go all the way because Giovanni Van Bronckhorst came over and did a terrific captain's job, shepherding the ball away from Iniesta, steering it to safety. And in the end, there was no damage done. Off comes De Jong for the Netherlands. On comes a more attacking force in Rafael van der Vaart. Van der Vaart, who plays for Real Madrid, ironically, is coming on to try and defeat the Spanish in the final. Former Hamburg man, who has set up a couple of goals in these World Cup finals without scoring himself. We're in the 100th minute of the match. And wherever you are in the world, if you're wondering, it's 25 minutes to 11 in the evening. It's quite late, really. It's past my bedtime. Van Persie. No way through for him. Xavi, hounded straight away by Van der Vaart, who's got fresh legs, of course. A great turn from Van Bommel. What a good season he's had with his club side, which got to the Champions League final, only to lose to Inter Milan. Robben, of course, in that Bayern Munich side as well. Lovely take from Fabregas. Now it is Villa. On the outside comes Jesus Navas. Jesus Navas goes for goal! Oh, the crowd around the stadium really thought that that had gone in. Stecklenburg smiles, as he has a right to do. Jesus Navas here with a shot which was on target. And for all the world, it would have looked around this Soccer City Stadium as though that had gone into the net. Maybe it will now from the corner, and maybe it won't. Well, here he goes. There's the deflection off Van Bronckhorst. Critical. Well, there would have been headlines of biblical proportions if Jesus, translated as Jesus Navas, had scored. It's a back and across the middle, offside David Villa. It's the turn of the Netherlands to come with Sneijder's pass. Just about controlled on the flank by Robben. He might have run out of a bit of energy. Iniesta. It is Arjen Robben who's had the best chances, along with Cesc Fabregas, to win this match so far. Three minutes of the first period of extra time remain. Navas, who looks such a talent. Puyol. Ooh, that was a little bit close. And there is still time for the Netherlands here. Almost 3 minutes in this first period as they try to release the speedster again. Van Bommel awaits. He does the job that Xavi does for Spain, but he's put a... that was a bit light, the pass out there. And the VIPs are getting just as restless as us for a goal. just means so much, of course, to win the World Cup. It lifts the entire morale of a nation. Just as some nations were so deflated to go home early, none more than the French and the Italians and the English, who came with huge expectations only to be sent packing. Says Fabregas. All these players are thinking of his glory, and it is Fabregas who is close to it. Super little run from a super little player. They seem to melt away from him, and he found a way through, but drove it narrowly wide. 90 seconds remain in the first period of extra time without the net having been disturbed yet. Still they wait. Van Persie took it down well. This is Elia. He has pace. He looks to deliver a cross first of all, though. All the blue shirts in the way. And then he wins it back. Legally so. The red and yellow, those are the normal colours of Spain. And the orange of the Netherlands, as we see the last of the switches here from Van Marwijk. And what a time to come on for the first time in the World Cup finals. Edson Braafheid, who plays for Celtic in Scotland on loan from Bayern Munich, is coming on for his World Cup finals debut in the last minute of the first period of extra time. An unusual choice. Maybe the coach knows something about Braafheid that we don't know. It's away to Navas. And the outstretched leg of Matthijssen does the job once more. It's the captain who's been taken off. It's Sergio Ramos here for Spain. This was where he caused so many problems in the early stages of the match. It's remarkable to think that the Netherlands, with a population of just 16 million, have made it through to the World Cup finals. Ahead of much greater nations in terms of numbers, of course. Spain in the possession. Busquets across. Fabregas tries to claim it. Iniesta does. Then it's Fabregas again. The first time an instinctive pass to David Villa didn't find the mark, and referee Webb says we'll have another 15 minutes, please. And they go wait for the shortest of breathers. Netherlands 0, Spain 0. Fernando Torres belatedly, the golden boy, the great hope of Spanish football, is coming on for the last 15 minutes. And David Villa may have to share the golden shoe. He will not have any further opportunities in which to score tonight. No more changes available to the coaches, so those who are out there now will still be out there when this game comes to its conclusion, and should it be a penalty shootout, the choices will be from these 22 players. At least the yellow card count hasn't gone up from 9. It's up towards Van Persie. It's covered easily by that Spanish defence. On the ball, Andres Iniesta, one of the best players on the field tonight. Then Fabregas, who shields it and gets away from Van Bommel to refeed Iniesta in this move. Torres has pulled away. Well, it would be a great story if Torres did win it for Spain. Remember, he won them the European final against Germany just 2 years ago. Not quite to the day, but not far off. Calmly headed back by Braafheid to the goalkeeper Stekelenburg. Away goes Van der Wiel, 22 years of age. He may never play in a bigger match, no matter how long he lives. Xavi goes beyond Van der Wiel. Still has the ball at his toe end. Glued. Iniesta beaten away by Van der Vaart. Sneijder again. Touchline Elia. Braafheid. Matthijssen. And it's the Dutch who are playing good possession football now. But we need something incisive at the end of a move. Van Bommel. We need a sniper to come to the fore. Sneijder. Never mind sniper, it was Sneijder. This is Elliott. And away he goes. And that's over the dead ball line. I can even see that from where I am. No need for technology on that one. Well, they look glum. They needn't yet because they've not lost yet. Neither side has. Torres up for a very good header. It drops at the foot of Iniesta. Torres a very handy man to bring on at a stage like this, of course. He scored so many goals over the last couple of years in the English Premier League for Liverpool, Fernando Torres, that he might make those glum looks even glummer. Capdevila. He's away on the outside of the defender who covers Van der Wiel, who has support from Van Bommel. Van Bommel's had a terrific match, really, in helping to defend. Robben. We want to see somebody have a terrific match in an attacking sense. No free kick for Robben, who flaps his arms again. Ramos. Fabregas. Iniesta's touch takes it to Xavi. It's a free kick here for Iniesta. And again it's a red card. There had to be one. There really did have to be one. And it's John Heitinga who is the one who is suffering most. Well, we've been on 9 yellow cards in this game for such a long time that it really was becoming inevitable that one wrong challenge, one wrong move would lead to another World Cup final dismissal. It was Zinedine Zidane 4 years ago. Now it's John Heitinga for the arm across the shoulder of Andres Iniesta. Importantly, the Netherlands are down to 10. Very importantly, Spain have a free kick on the edge of the D. Is there a goal in the offing? The Spanish fans are baying for blood. It is Xavi who places the ball. Sergio Ramos is at his right shoulder. Cesc Fabregas is also there. A steely look in the eye of Xavi. 21 metres separate Xavi from the Dutch net. Well, the ball flies high over the top of it once more. And they're just not taking their opportunities when they get them. It's a great Dutch relief. Is there ever to be a breakthrough this evening? Well, come on, keep going. That's the message from him. Reorganise a little. That's the message from Van Marwijk. And at least the Dutch have only 20 minutes to play with a man down. Fabregas, they will continue to pass the ball and Piqué will lope forward. Iniesta, who still looks to me as though he could be a match winner. He's taken down by Van der Wiel. And Van der Wiel's yellowed. There's going to be nobody left out there in orange to defend if they go on like this. Van der Wiel and Van Bronckhorst. And the only defender who hasn't been cautioned on the Dutch side tonight is Matthijssen. Heitinga's gone to a red. The Spanish are looking to ascend the throne. And Xavi, that's a dangerous ball in, fisted away well, only as far as Jesus Navas, who lifts it disappointingly into the Dutch contingent. Well, I make it 7 players booked on the Dutch side, one of them twice, so they've had 8 yellow cards in all. 7 different players, and only Matthijssen, Sneijder and Kuyt and the goalkeeper Stekelenburg have avoided yellow of those who are in orange, if that makes sense. I'm reminded there were 40 yellow cards shown in 18 previous World Cup finals. We've already gone past 50. I don't think anybody knew quite what to expect tonight. We all know the Spanish are pass masters at passing the ball. And we all know the Dutch like to hit on breaks and that they are not typical of the total Dutch football side. That's offside. Remember, the Dutch were the ones who he could be booked for this. That's a crazy thing to do, putting the ball into the net after the whistle has gone. And referee Webb will come and remind Robin to get away, otherwise they'll be down to 9. He's already been cautioned. He was offside. He couldn't resist putting the ball into the net, and he could with a stricter referee, or a less understanding one, have been booked. It's got through to Torres. Almost his first touch since coming on. Fernando Torres. Free kick against him. Six and a half minutes remaining of a tempestuous affair. Elia twists away from trouble, continues to canter on and win a free kick for the Netherlands. What a story it would be if the 10 men went to win the World Cup final. We've not seen a single good free kick tonight. Is now the time for Wesley Sneijder. 5 goals in these finals. 2 against Brazil, 1 against Japan, 1 against Slovakia, 1 against Uruguay. He plants the ball down, and it is the Dutch who feel a reason to smile and hope, and the Spanish who need to worry. And there will be an inquisition if they lose this one against 10. Wesley Sneijder, alongside him Rafael van der Vaart. With 5.5 minutes of extra time left. It is Sneijder, it takes a deflection, and that deflection took it just wide. But the deflection was off one of his own, according to referee Webb. Well, that's an extraordinary decision. That clearly was off the end of the Spanish wall. And the Dutch are denied a corner they should have had. Van der Wiel. Sneijder. The Dutch are actually finishing strongly. Van Persie moves it along to Elia. El Hierro Elia for Rafael van der Vaart. Van Persie's in an offside position at the moment. So Elia delays. Takes on Ramos. Gets between the two. Down he goes. No foul. And away goes Navas. He's speedy. And he's come a long way with the ball, which is now with Iniesta, the back heel from him. They try to open up the Dutch via another route. Iniesta's in the middle all alone. If Fernando Torres can find him, it's stabbed away uncomfortably to Fabregas. Surely now! Surely now! Spain have won the World Cup for the first time in history. Andres Iniesta has broken Dutch hearts with the goal on 116 minutes that promises to say Viva España for the first time ever. The Dutch are complaining to the referee's assistant on the far side. Their protests will be in vain. Matthijssen could get sent off here. He's not actually been booked, he will be now. And as I predicted, nearly every Dutch player has been booked with this one. Only the goalkeeper and Schneider and Kite have not been booked, but this is the goal. Torres plays a part, his first part almost in this World Cup. Fabregas slides it through, no doubt in the world that he's offside, and Andres Iniesta blasts it beyond Martin Stekelenburg, surely to grab the glory. Stekelenburg's right hand made contact with the ball as it flew beyond him. The net is disturbed for the first time in the World Cup final of 2010. Andres Iniesta's second goal of the finals brings the broadest grin from Vicente Del Bosque I have ever seen. Netherlands 0, Spain 1, Iniesta cautioned as well. Not sure that matters. It will be one for the statisticians. 4 cards for the Spanish. Goodness knows how many for the Dutch. I need a computer. And they'll go for an equaliser here, but not even the bounce off the turf can help Schneider. Spain are 2 minutes away from claiming the crown. I think the goalkeeper's in tears, Casillas. He's got to go up and collect the cup in a few minutes, unless something special happens now. And Queen Sofia is leading the celebration in 1934. This is their 13th finals for the Spanish, and they're within touching distance of winning the World Cup and becoming the first team since West Germany in 1974 to hold the European and world crown simultaneously. The clock ticks on to 190 minutes played in Soccer City. Ole, ole, ole is the chant. So ironic that Torres, who's had a miserable time of it in these World Cup finals, figured in the move. He's the hero though, Andres Iniesta. The 26-year-old who scored in the victory against Chile, the man who was described by Wayne Rooney as the best player in world football, has given Spain the platform to win the World Cup. And the Dutch are facing defeat for the 3rd time in the finals. 1974, beaten by Germany, West Germany. 1978, beaten by Argentina. And now they're within seconds of being beaten by Spain. It's a hat-trick they did not want. Play on, says referee Webb. And 2 minutes of additional time, so the Netherlands still do have chance. They've got to transfer the ball into the other half of the field ever so sharply. It was a handball by Busquets. Bravely though the Dutch have battled. That's going to be another yellow card for Xavi. Well, it's got to be a record. It's up there now. I ought to get the goalkeeper up, Stekelenburg. I'm not sure he's got the time. It's up to the edge of that 18-yard area. So away to Schneider. It's out wide to Robben. Can we have belated drama in here? It's swung across into the penalty area. Away by Capdevila. 1 minute of added time in extra time has been played. Confirmation of Xavi's booking. That's 5 for Spain. It's up into the area. They'll appeal for penalties or anything now. Puyol hacks it away to safety. 45 seconds separate Spain from their first World Cup crown. Puyol comes to meet it. Capdevila smashes it into the other half of the field. Fernando Torres, he pulls up, he's pulled a hamstring. Well, he's got 30 seconds to survive. Dirk Kuyt can barely watch. They won't stop play now. It's launched, edge of the area. It's a sad sight seeing Torres down, but you can't really blame the Netherlands for coming on now. No free kick given. That surely is going to be it. The ball is put out, though Torres will get the treatment he needs, which will extend the evening here in Johannesburg beyond 11 o'clock. But look at Torres here chasing. Remember all the problems he's had recently, and that is a sad sight for Fernando Torres, who suffered that knee injury in April, and quite clearly from which he's never recovered. But he figured in the move, which was finalised by the right boot of Andres Iniesta, the one defining moment of the World Cup final of 2010. The message is loud and clear. Spain are destined for glory and for the Champions title. After years of underachievement, tonight it has all come right for the Spanish. Unless the Netherlands get a dramatic goal here now, they won't, because Casillas will let this run out. The Spanish are desperate to hear the final whistle. There it is! Spain are world champions 2010. History is created in Soccer City. At the 13th attempt, they have finally done it. They have proved the best in Europe. They have now proved the best in the world. And Spain are rightfully crowned the best footballing team on the planet here. The first time it came to the continent of Africa is the time they have broken their duck. The final score was Netherlands 0, Spain 1. The World Cup has been won by Spain.